Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, I'm going to be doing a comparison between two Chanel 2.55 reissue bags that I own. So the first one is this one right here, which I believe is called the small size. Most people, including myself, seem to refer to this as the 225 size. And this is a bag that I bought 4 or maybe 5 years ago at this point, and I used it a ton, so I'm very familiar with this bag and I do have a lot to say about it. And then the newer one to my collection is this one right here, which is the Mini Reissue. This is one that I added to my collection just a couple months ago, but I do own 2 of these bags now, and it's a new favorite of mine. So I figured I would compare these 2 bags for you guys, and in this comparison I'm going to cover everything from what fits in them, any wear and tear that I've noticed. I'm also going to provide mod shots. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and let's get into it. So let's first talk about this 225 size reissue, which is the larger of the 2 that I own. And this one is currently retailing in the US for $7,800, which is, yes, a lot of money. Back when I bought it, it was only $4,900 US, so that's a significant difference in price. And while I do think that it's worth it at $4,900, I'm not entirely sure that I think it's worth it to purchase it at the full price of $7,800. But the good thing about the reissue bags is because it's not quite as popular as the classic flaps are, you can get them for a pretty decent discount if you buy a pre-love. So I think at, normal average pre-love prices for this bag, I do think that that is worth it. So to quickly run through the dimensions of this bag, it's 9.4 inches across, it has a height of 6.2 inches, and then it's 2.9 inches deep. And I measured both the strap length when you have the chain doubled up as well as when you use a single chain. So when you have it doubled up, it's approximately 11 inches long. And then when you have a single chain, it's 20 inches long. So the good thing about this strap is that even though by itself it's not adjustable, you can kind of work around it, because on the inside, if you just take like a piece of ribbon or something like that, you can just tie this however close together, or you can like make it further apart depending on what length you want to adjust the chain to. And that's kind of like a nice little DIY trick you can do to make the strap whatever length you want it to be. You can make it like a significant amount shorter, so this can even be kind of like a top handle bag if you wanted it to be. So this bag actually has a lot of different compartments for you to organize your items. I will have to admit that a few of these compartments actually aren't that functional, but at least they're there and there is kind of like a history behind it. So on the back, there is this very traditional Mona Lisa pocket that you can find on a lot of different Chanel bags. And then on the inside of the bag, on the inside of this outer flap here, there is this zippered compartment, which supposedly Coco Chanel used to store her love letters in here. And then back here is this kind of like slit that I don't actually recommend you using, because if you stick things in here, I feel like that might make it so that some of these stitches would just pop over time and it would mess up the leather. I do want to mention that this is a double flap, so there's 2 different flaps, which actually helps with maintaining the structure of this bag, even though it does make it significantly heavier too. So this pocket in the front is actually where I tend to store my phone. I usually like to keep my phone separate, so I actually really like this compartment here. And then there is this one big main compartment on the inside, and then there's 2 slip pockets, and then this thing in the center, which is supposed to be for like a lipstick or something like that, but that is also another one of those compartments that I think is pretty useless. But overall, this bag actually has a really good amount of space for everything that you need to carry. For me personally, I don't actually fill this bag to capacity when I use it. At one point in the past I did, but now I don't feel like I need this amount of space. I will go through what fits in both this bag as well as the Mini Reissue later on in this video, but I just wanted to mention that really quickly. So I've had this bag since 2017 and it is one of my all-time most used bags. I just really love how carefree it is. There's no logos that's really obvious. You know, if you know that this is Chanel, then you know, but if you don't, then it kind of just looks like, actually, let's be honest, it might actually look like a Chanel knockoff, but I do love how understated and carefree it is. And this is a bag that I actually love carrying on vacation because I don't really have to worry too much about it. And this, as well as, you know, the Mini Reissue, just like all reissue styles, you can actually flatten this and pack it flat, which is great for putting in your suitcase, and I don't really have to worry about it getting misshapen or anything. So this bag, I would say, is really good to take you from like daytime to nighttime looks. You could definitely carry this to work, and if you don't carry that much with you, I think that this would be a really good work bag, especially since, you know, as I mentioned, there's no real logos on it. And then if you had to transition it to like a dinner or something like that, this definitely works. And I wanted to touch on a few things regarding the weight of this bag. So as I mentioned before, this is a double flap bag, so that extra flap does make it heavier than a single flap bag, for example. And this is lined completely in leather, which of course also adds to the weight. And lastly, because this chain is completely made out of metal, this is quite weighty in itself. And not to mention, when you have this bag stuffed full, or if you have, you know, like items that are too heavy in it, because this is a metal chain, it can dig into your shoulder a little bit. I only really find that it's an issue when I'm wearing something that is strapless. I don't really notice it if I have, you know, a layer covering my shoulder, especially if it's like a sweater or something like that. But it is something to keep in mind if you're sensitive to the weight of your bag. There are, however, pros to a lot of these, you know, like extra features that add to the weight. So of course, the leather lining makes it more luxurious. This chain is really stunning, but those are kind of superficial, right? The one thing that I think is really important, because it helps with the wear and tear of this bag, is the double flap actually makes it so that the top of this doesn't get pointy over time as you're using it. Because when you're carrying this bag, no matter how you're carrying it, it puts a lot of stress on this top right here. So if it doesn't have the double flap, I've seen kind of like similar bags from Chanel kind of get pointy on the top over here, but because there is this extra flap on the inside kind of reinforcing it, it doesn't really lose the shape. So yeah, there are kind of pros to it, even though if you're looking for something that is really comfortable to carry and you're trying to be lightweight with what you're carrying on you, this might not be it. And now moving on to this Mini Reissue bag. So as I mentioned, I do have two of these in my collection currently. So I have this off-white colored one with aged gold hardware, and I also have another one that's the Soul Black version, so that's black with black hardware. And currently the Mini Reissues are retailing for $4,400 US, so it's like close to half the price of the next size up, which is the 2.55 size. And the dimensions of this bag are, it's 7.8 inches across. And according to Chanel's website, they say that it's 6 inches tall, but I think it's more like 5 inches actually. And then the depth of this bag is 2.3 inches. And as with the other bag, you can wear this with the chain doubled up, or you can use a single chain. So when it's doubled up, it has a length of 11 inches, and then when it's a single chain, it's 21 inches. So when it's doubled up, it's basically the same length as the other bag, but when you have a single chain, it's just a tiny little bit longer. And the thing with this chain is that it is the same exact quality as the one on my 2.25 size reissue, for example. So it's the same weight, it's the same thickness. And that's kind of one of the complaints that I have about the mini rectangular flap bags from Chanel, because those just, you can tell that it doesn't feel quite as nice as the ones on the more expensive classic flaps. But I'm really glad that they didn't go with like a cheaper route for this chain, because I think the chain is really what makes this bag so beautiful. Aside from that, there are some differences between the two bags. So the first thing I wanted to mention is that this is only a single flap, so you don't have that extra one on the inside, and that does affect the wear and tear of this bag, and I'll get into that in a little bit. So on the back of this bag, you do still get the Mona Lisa pocket. On the inside, however, the compartments are different. So on the inside, you do have this one main compartment right here, and then you have a slip pocket and a zippered pocket. Now currently, the size bag is basically the perfect size for me to carry all my essentials in. And when I have everything that I need to carry with me in this bag, I don't find that this is too heavy or anything. The chain never digs into my shoulder, no matter what kind of top I'm wearing, which is unlike the heavier, larger 2.25 size reissue. Now I mainly wear this bag either doubled up on my shoulder or I wear it crossbody. And one of the things that I have to mention about wearing this bag doubled up on my shoulder is sometimes I kind of feel like it looks a little bit silly on me because the bag is so small, and I'm just used to seeing shoulder bags be a little bit wider than this one is. So it kind of looks like I have a child's bag on my shoulder. I don't really feel the same way about this when it's worn crossbody, because I think mini bags actually look really nice when it's worn crossbody. So that's something to keep in mind, because if you're not a big fan of the mini bag type of look, you might be limited in how you can carry this bag. And I already kind of think that when it gets colder and I have more layers on, I probably won't really be carrying this bag on my shoulder. I would just stick to carrying this crossbody because, you know, with like a coat and everything, I think it would all just drown out this bag and it would look even sillier when that happens. Now the Mini Reissue I think can be worn both casually as well as for special occasions. And that might make absolutely no sense because those are the two polar opposite ends of the spectrum, but it definitely can be worn for special occasions because the chain is just so stunning, and because it is a mini bag, you know, it just kind of makes sense to wear it to a wedding or something like that. Whereas for the 2.25 size reissue, while I would wear that for like a date night or something like that, I wouldn't really carry that to like a wedding or something of that sort. Also, it could be worn casually because, you know, it's a mini size bag. People tend to carry mini bags crossbody, for example. It's just an easy bag to grab and go. And because it is in this distressed type of leather, it just gives it this casual look, but the chain is what dresses it up. So it's a nice little contrast, and I think that's one of the main reasons that I really like the reissue line. And the only negative thing I have to say about this bag is because there isn't the second double flap over here to reinforce the very top of the bag. As I mentioned, when you're carrying this bag, there is a lot of stress being put on the top of the flap over here. So this does tend to get a little bit pointed as I'm using it. It kind of resets itself when I stuff it and store it away, but I'm not sure about the long-term wear and tear on this. This is something that I'm going to have to keep an eye out on. I do notice that, you know, by the end of the night, it does look a little bit pointy, but for now, there's no permanent creases or anything on the leather, and I kind of feel like it won't be too bad over time because there's just a lot of creases and wrinkles all over this aged calfskin anyways. So even if there was kind of like a line across the top, I don't think it would bother me as much as say the same thing were to happen to something that was like a lambskin material. So overall, I really love this bag, and I kind of don't understand why it took me so long to purchase one. So here's a side-by-side comparison of both bags worn over my shoulder with the straps doubled up. And as you can see, the strap drop on both bags is essentially the same. It's just that for the Mini Reissue, the bag itself does end a little higher up because it's not as tall of a bag as the larger 2.25 sizes. And both bags are really comfortable underneath my arms, and my elbow does rest at a good spot on both of these bags. So it keeps the bag secure underneath there, and I find that this is a great kind of hands-free option to carry this bag. And here is what the two bags look like when worn over the shoulder. And I am 5'4" for reference, and honestly, this is way too long for me to wear like this. I feel like it's not very comfortable because both of them are kind of sitting underneath my hip, and I don't really like my bags to be hanging this long. I usually like it higher up like this. So that's why for these two bags, I much prefer to wear them crossbody if I want to use just a single strap. And lastly, here are the two bags worn crossbody, and it might not be really obvious in the video, but the Mini Reissue does sit just a little bit lower compared to the larger 2.25 size. The strap length on the Mini Reissue is maybe about an inch longer when worn this way, but it's not a super big difference, and I do think that it's perfectly comfortable for me to wear either of these bags this way. And here's what the two of them look like with it to my side. And as you can see, the 2.25 size bag does stick out from my body a little bit more just because it is a bigger bag. However, I don't think that it's uncomfortable or looks weird in any way. I would say though that I do tend to wear the Mini Reissue crossbody more than I do the 2.25 size. I just think that, as with most mini bags, I think it looks quite cute when it's worn crossbody, but yeah, both of them are quite versatile. So here I have my 2.25 size reissue filled with what is basically the maximum amount of things I ever carry in this bag. And usually I don't really bring this amount of things with me, so that's why the mini size reissue is actually a great fit for me. So inside here, as you can see, it is packed quite full, but I do think there still is some space for like one or two small items if you want to fit a little bit more in here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you everything that's currently in this bag one by one, and then I'm going to show you guys of all the things that fit into this bag, how much of it will also fit into the Mini Reissue. So of course I have my phone in the front over here and a pair of sunglasses. Here is a travel size bottle of perfume, and then I have 2 tubes of lipstick, a hair tie, hand sanitizer of course, and this is just a pill bottle that I have like allergy medicine or vitamins or something in. And then this is a tube of lotion. And here I have this pouch that I currently have my car keys and my house keys in. And usually I just carry them loosely in my bag, but I know a lot of you guys use a similar pouch for your keys. So I just wanted to show you guys that yes, something like this will fit into this bag. And then I have a face mask, a pack of tissues, and then I have a mirror, and the last thing in here is my card holder. So as you can see, this is quite a bit of things, and a good amount of this does also fit into the Mini Reissue, but yeah, I'm going to show you guys that you do have to leave out a few items. So here is everything laid out a little bit neater. This is everything that I showed you guys fits into the 2.25 size reissue. Now, as for the Mini Reissue, the essentials out of everything here does still fit into this bag, but at a certain point, you need to start leaving a few things out. So inside this bag, I can fit the face mask. This I usually just fold up and put it into this slip pocket in the back over here, like so. And then my phone, of course. Unfortunately, there's no extra pocket to put my phone in. It does kind of fit into the slip pocket back here, but it's a very tight fit and I don't really want to stretch that out. And then, of course, my card holder is a must. And a pack of tissues that goes in here too. And then the mirror also can fit into kind of like this left part over here. And then I have my bottle of hand sanitizer. And as for my keys, this entire pouch is not going to fit into the bag, but as I mentioned, I usually just carry my keys loosely inside the bag, so this does fit in here no problem, both my house keys as well as my car keys. So that's basically enough to fill up the bottom of the bag, but you can still put a few items on top. So for example, I can put a hair tie in, and I can also put a tube of lipstick in. And yes, I can put a few more items in there too, but as I mentioned, I don't always carry all of this with me, so this is kind of about it. But yeah, there still is a little bit more space on top. So this is what the bag looks like closed. So that is it for this video comparing the Mini Reissue to the 2.25 size reissue bag. And I really hope you guys enjoyed it and found it helpful. And if you're thinking of purchasing one of these bags for yourself, hopefully I've answered all your questions. But if you have a question that I haven't answered in this video, feel free to let me know in the comments down below and I'll definitely get back to you guys. And if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please do consider subscribing for lots more handbag and luxury related content. And I'll leave 2 videos on the screen for you to watch next. So I'll see you very soon. Bye for now.